And let's see. Yeah. Things are real slow this morning.
Yeah.
But we are actually live.
Okay.
We are. This is real. This is working because I don't think I'm really with it this morning yet.
It's all right, man. It's Monday. It's hot. Already hot. Been a hot weekend.
I know it's in the 70s already. Like,
yeah.
Goodness. Which is
That's
also
why we back on the porch, y'all.
Right.
Anybody that knows.
Yes. For anyone that has been following all of us from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what though? I was about to say we started on the porch. We didn't. We started with a Zoom.
Yeah.
That first Monday morning live was actually. I forgot about the whole traffic thing.
Right.
The first one was a Zoom, but then this was us, and I'm just doing the techie thing I always do every morning.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm not fully awake right now. Even though I've probably been up for the last maybe 2 hours, running around trying to get stuff done. I still don't feel fully charged. But that's because of the heat, I think, largely, man.
Yeah, the fact that
the heat got me beat up right now.
Before 7:30, it was already over 70 degrees.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, why? What? I don't understand.
Yeah.
All right,
so make me bring my AC out today.
Yeah, which is a whole thing.
Right?
Looking lovely on this hot Monday morning. Yes, you are looking lovely on this hot Monday morning.
They are not talking to me. They are not talking to me. Thank you for those kind words. This surely ain't talking to me.
We have a new setup that I'm trying to get used to be paying attention, but I've got techie things. Oh my gosh, I should drink coffee. All right, morning, y'all. How you doing? Everybody's good. How you doing, Sean? You already said how you were doing.
I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm awake. I'm alive. I'm inspired by my community still. Folks that are still showing up. Miss Jolene Rusco's the hardcore.
Yes,
hardcore. The people that keep showing up and they bringing new people to the table. We had a lot of things going on this week. We got more things coming up this month. So yeah, no, I'm tired, but I'm all right. Yeah. I mean, so it was cold and wet and rainy and all that crap, and I couldn't stand it. I'm happy for this.
Yeah,
I'm happy for this weather.
I'm okay.
And I did some yelling. I can still tell it's in my voice. I did some yelling, so
So we are here, but we need to fix the things we are here with. This is great. That was awesome. All right, great. That's.
Hey, it was the feds. It was the feds. They got us. Yo, word is born. I'm looking at the live. I was looking at the live, and it was like 9 people still on. Just like, yo, like
it said we were still live. I didn't understand how.
Yeah, maybe they just walked away. I don't know. It's weird, but I appreciate y'all for staying here and like letting us figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
Official.
Anyone that's watching live right now, if you could just drop something in the chat, a hello, what's on your mind, anything, so that we can make sure we're still actually connected through everything else, that'd be great. Because
that looks good.
Yeah.
Wow. So anyway, I guess
yeah, let's
just go to where we were going, right?
Yeah.
It's hot. I'm inspired. All this about the community. I'm looking forward to what's coming up next, and I was really thankful to be a part of some things that happened in the last several days.
Yeah, there was a lot that we had. One that. How about we start with Friday, and we'll move through the weekend.
Yeah, cool.
All right. I have to do techie things over here because my goodness.
I mean, so June 4th, I'm sure like everybody knows, or at least many of you would know, that there was a press conference held at the Albany County courthouse. The press conference had to do with Miss Yolanda Richardson and her daughter Yasmin, and what happened to Yasmin on a school bus by an older, abusive, out her damn mind white woman. The video footage is on our it's everywhere,
yeah,
right?
It's
on
everywhere.
Our page. It's on other folks' page. The news media has it. Like people know about it, and like a collaborative organizations and people, just community folks, came out to support her and to demand justice from not just the school district, but for like every level of failure that they've actually went through. That's the bus company, that's the school district, that's the district attorney's office, and beyond. Even outside other institutions that are having an impact after the fact, have impacted a woman's life. So it was very sad to hear her story and to know that's what happened to her daughter, and to know that there was no one there, right, that could help. I just being there to support and to get her story out, and sort of that everyone knows what happened. I mean, it was a beautiful thing to be a part of.
And a little bit of the background, a little bit of the story for anyone that either didn't see it covered on the news or didn't see the post on social media yet. It's been 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That Yolanda Richardson has been demanding justice for her daughter Yasmin after she discovered, not because anyone alerted her.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mom who knew something was wrong with her daughter, something was going on, and they were fighting against her even finding out the truth in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They then and now attack this mom for requesting truth and justice for her child. In 2.5 years, she was fighting and struggling, and her attorney, Matt Toporowski, actually mentioned the fact that she FOIL requested the video footage before anyone was involved in the case.
Yeah.
Before Matt was involved in the case, that she was like, no, you're going to show me this video. Something's going on with my kid. And discovered that the aide on the bus, who's responsible for ensuring the safety and care of children during transportation, was verbally and physically abusing a 7-year-old disabled Black child. And Yolanda had enough strength and perseverance to not only just hold it together, but to push forward and say, how is this happening? And get this woman, off this bus and away from my child. And what does justice look like? And then fast forward to Friday, like you said, a number of groups and organizations coming together to support Yolanda. And she has a fight still ahead of her. And the district attorney not doing his job to protect Black children, but still living in the world where he's real quick to hurt Black children, real quick to arrest them and put them in a cage. But when there's a disabled Black girl that needs justice, he couldn't find a way to prevent this racist white woman from ever hurting another child again.
Yeah. He so you're talking about the
it could be a hate crime,
supposed plea agreement that has, no mention of there's no hate crime.
Right.
It's charged. There is no stipulations to where like, okay, now this person you will never be able to work in, around children again, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's some of that stuff that's missing, and some of that stuff is about accountability.
Yes.
Right. The mom wasn't. I mean, I've had conversations with the mom, Yolanda. She was not interested in like, having the woman incarcerated out of existence. Right.
Right.
She was interested in accountability, to owning up to what happened, and to ensure that this doesn't happen to another child in the community. Because she said the impact is an impact on me and my child. But what about the rest of the community?
Yeah, the other children.
The other children that potentially could be hurt. So, like I said, one of the things, it's really interesting. The story and the way it developed, like in our conversations, Yolanda was like, I just knew something was wrong. Like they ain't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Like, and this is listen, that sixth sense type of thing, right? Now I'm not a full believer in that stuff all the time, but I know it feels real to me, especially in moments like this. Like she's like, I'm walking to the bus with my daughter.
Yeah.
And there was something wrong with her energy.
Yeah.
Like there was something wrong with the woman's energy every time. You know what I'm saying? And then as time progressed, she started noticing things in her daughter that wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, that says a lot to like, pay attention to the folks watching your kids.
Yep.
Have that extra perception when it comes to folks around your children, because without knowing anything else, she started digging and then found this like horrible. It's crazy.
And we have an expectation. Oh, if they're going to school, if they're getting on a bus, if they're in a building where all these other children are, and this is a system and structure that is meant to care for children. Yeah. I should assume that they're okay.
Remember, there was cameras on the bus.
There's cameras on the bus, and there's a driver.
There's
a driver who can hear what this woman is saying. Even if the driver never turns around and sees the physical interaction, I mean, I imagine at some point you're checking your rearview mirror and you happen to glance because this woman was not stopping. Yeah. It wasn't like she did it and then she moved. Yeah. In the small 40-second clip that we saw, because we know it happened more than once. Mm-hmm. The bus, the school district, the district attorney's office, any place where there was interaction with this child, the CPS workers that are supposed to make sure they are mandated reporters. Where are we on the state and federal level for the mandated reporting for the driver, for the school district, for all of those things? Every single step along the way failed Yolanda, failed Yasmin, and they all need to be held accountable. What is it they're doing to change their policies and practices? Mm-hmm. You had mentioned there should be mandatory review of the tapes.
Yeah. Should be a mandatory review of the tapes
going
weekly.
forward
mandatory
because of this.
The expectation when you see the cameras on the bus is to think that those things are being reviewed, right? Remember, she rolled in the help of the bus drivers as well, and making false reports on the child.
Yes. Yep.
Remember that? So
the
bus driver, her, the school bus owners, the school district, like everywhere you could look, mama was failed here, but she's gonna find her way to justice because the community is supporting her, and we ain't going anywhere. And it's really sad that it happened, right? But because it happened, let's make sure that this doesn't happen to another child in the way it happened to Yasmin.
And let's also make sure that other districts are looking at their policies because of this. No, I don't know if anyone heard, but I was recently elected to the Schenectady City School Board.
That may be,
it does make me pause and say, for the city of Schenectady and the buses that serve our area, what is the process for those videos? Is it that they are only reviewed if there is a complaint? Because that's not going to be good enough, right? Like, and someone somewhere is going to say, we're talking about hours of review, and okay, so then somebody somewhere needs to look at their budget, who is responsible for those tapes, so that they can hire someone that is responsible for reviewing the tapes. And how often are there conversations with bus drivers and aides? Are there spot checks with parents and students? Yeah. Because we don't have to just rely on the adults that are responsible, because responsible adults are not always doing what they're supposed to. Children have agency and the ability to express what's happening with them.
Yes.
This poor Black disabled child who is verbally limited, fortunately, her mother noticed something. In the midst of caring for other children and living her life and trying to manage every single day, was able to notice something was going on. But children are able to speak and to be able to talk to kids. Hey, you know, how's the bus ride? How do you like transportation? We do surveys all the damn time. Where's the survey for kids on transportation to be like, what's your bus ride experience like? How do you like it? Blah, blah, blah. Like there's got to be a better way for checks and balances to ensure that our children are safe every step of the way. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And we can do some things about that moving forward to ensure that that's the way it goes. So,
and something Abby just said, right, is that abusers silence their victims. Why would they only review upon complaints? Exactly, right?
Well said, Abby. You're absolutely right.
So that was Friday, right? Friday was the press conference, Justice for Yasmin in Albany. And then we made it to Saturday. We did. We made it to Saturday.
We should have Tom on right now.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's like we should have.
So Tom, where you at? Join the live.
I know.
We can talk about.
Tom was on. Hopefully Tom's still on. Tom. Yo, if you're on, Tom, you're drop something in the chat, because Tom was one of the organizers for the Unity March Against Gun Violence that happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
That started at 1:00 in Albany. And also Steve Negron was there, Lex Figueroa. There's just too many names.
It was a lot.
There were dozens of organizations that signed on in support.
I want to say it was nearly, I think I heard Tom say several times it was nearly 30 organizations and businesses that signed on.
How many, Tom?
When do we ever get 30 business organizations sign on to anything, especially something, coming out into the street and taking that march? When do we ever even get that? Yeah. So it was a really dope collaboration of a lot. There you go. Here
it is. Well, what? 32 organizations and businesses showed up in support for the Unity March on Saturday. Listen,
I saw the press coverage, and the press coverage looked really good. I saw some of the write-ups about it, and besides just that, like walking through those communities, I was on my motorcycle.
Yes, you
but I was going as slow as folks walking.
Yes,
but what I noticed is, like, as we came through the communities, like, people were curious about what was going on
and joined the march.
And asking questions, and just like it has an impact.
Yeah.
Like being out there, showing up in the way we did, being loud, showing people that we care, that we give a fuck about our community, and trying to figure out what we are going to do together. Because it's not just about the march,
right?
But that is just to get the attention, to show people what it is. Yeah. Be loud, show people you love them, show people you care, and then let's strategize, sit down, and let's work on what we're going to do moving forward. And we have organizations with folks that don't usually even be in the same room with each other.
Yeah.
The one of the things I didn't speak, right, but one of the things that I wanted to say to the crowd, and I'll just say to this audience, is that gun violence in our communities, police brutality in our communities,
police gun violence.
All right, are not different things to me, and I'll tell you why. They're both outgrowths of the same white supremacist, oppressive, and exploitive system, right? You have these economically downtrodden communities, impoverished communities, I like to have a term. You have people that are dealing with all sorts of social economic issues, emotional issues, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, etc. Then you have the armed enforcers of the state come in to control that population
with violence,
right? And so it's a perpetual violent loop that just keeps reinforcing itself. The more violent the communities are, the more police come in and enact violence, and then perpetuate. You can take out, and I think I said this in one of our lives not too long ago, scoop up every person that you think will be violent.
Right, because that's every what Sheriff Apple wants to do right now, broken window.
Yeah, you can scoop out every person you think will be violent, which would be the whole community, because all of us have the potential for violence in some instance, right? But let's just say in some weird world that there's only several, a couple dozen folks that you can scoop out, or even more, right? You could take all of them out today. Tomorrow, violence will be back because you did not remove the conditions in which violence is created and which violence is born. And that's some of the problems that a lot of folks that talk about this stuff, they go through, because they want to say that police brutality is this whole other thing.
It's not.
And it's not. It's all a part of the same thing.
Plus one, it's this idea that we live in a militarized, violent society where we tell our children, and I say we as a society, that violence is an answer, and then punish them for using the tools that we tell them are supposed to be used. That the police show up with their guns and their batons and their pepper spray and say that they did de-escalation training. By the way, inside police force manuals, de-escalation actually includes pepper spray and tasers and tear gas. Like, it's part of their de-escalation, so it's not actually de-escalation. Because it is the foundation of violence. Yeah. That you're supposed to behave this way. If we do not change how we talk about conflict resolution, and I know I heard somebody say this, right? That how individuals learn to interact with each other and the levels of expectation, because I had a 8th grader in Schenectady tell me, yo, if they slash my tires, they got to get got. They believe that it is an appropriate response to cause someone physical harm. That's learned. That's not innate. Although the district attorney's office, the sheriff, and everyone else would like us to believe that Black people are just simply more violent. No, it's what's taught, and you add on top of that what you said about the resources. Because when there are mass shootings, those white kids that are committing mass shootings, oh no, they're just misunderstood. They're not actually violent. Oh, they need help. They need support. Oh, if we would have intervened sooner. Intervene sooner in our local Black urban communities that are majority students of color, children of color, because the ones perpetuating gun violence are children. And we need to save those children as well. We need to save our children from ever being the victims, and we need to save our children from being the perpetuators of violence. It's both and. We need to save all of our children. There's a lot of work to do. I did see Miss Beverly asked if there were any elected officials there. I saw one, and I'm not even saying who, because like Tom said, it was about community. Yes, there should have been other elected officials there listening, but they don't come outside and march with us.
Yeah, they don't. Let me say this, right? I heard I heard of a couple press conferences, around gun violence, put up by, and I want to just, the tragedy of the gun of the loss of life, of people being murdered. I mean, it can't be mistaken, and I know it's painful as hell. And it's something that we as a community been dealing with for quite some time, right? This is not anything new. And I was, and not to say it's any less, it's more easier to deal with. It's just we've seen this thing played out before. And I listened to the chief and them talk about, well, whatever they talked about. And I was thinking to myself, how I could take that thing and put it in any other time period of my life and it would fit.
The exact same words.
Right? So it's like we're not learning anything.
No.
We are still continuing to do the same thing. And I'll just say, I heard one of the things that was concerning to me was that the mayor says, we will put and it's in the paper, we will put the full resources, our ability, our resources behind making sure that folks are incarcerated if they use a gun in the community. The full resources. That means they contacted, they're in connection with federal agencies, state troopers, the county sheriff is patrolling, they're doing traffic stops, they're doing all this stuff to saying that this is going to have an impact. And I'm saying is Kathy, and any mayor, not just Kathy Sheen, any mayor, what about putting the full resources into healing the community? What about putting the full resources into, that's the resource I'm talking about, into really healing and working with the community to ensure that this stuff doesn't happen. Like that's what needs to happen, because if you just simply look at history, you see that, and I hate that my voice sounds like this, but you see that more police does not have the impact. No. Even if we look at the statistics, the chief himself said, hey, my officers are usually, they hear the gunshot and they show up. If not, they're within a minute or two of getting there. How does that mean they're effective? They are not effective because the police react to crime. And they don't prevent it.
And what we need is for the ambulance and medical professionals to be there to respond. And I've heard cops say, well, first we need to secure the crime scene and make sure that, that it's safe for the medical professionals to show up while someone's laying there dying. And to Kathy, who says, anyone who perpetuates gun violence, we're going to put the full weight and we're going to, bring you to justice. You don't feel that way when it's a cop. As a matter of fact, let us not forget that there was a cop recently who was videotaped not using a gun, but brutalizing an individual. And we believe, as a community, through the district attorney's office, that if they complete their VA therapy and go a year without committing any other harm, without being brutally physical with anyone else, that they should be able to return to society full of all of their rights and abilities to show up, even as a cop. So why is it that grown-ass trained police officers who brutalize, beat, and kill residents with deadly force are believed capable of changing and returning back to society, but children between the ages of 14 and I will go all the way up to 25 are not seen as human beings capable of learning and changing? Instead, you want to put those black and brown bodies in cages for their lives. And then when they return, they're still ostracized because there's no reduced charges for them. It's not, oh, you completed a program, so we know that you are a changed individual.
I mean, it's a double standard. It's a double standard that existed for forever almost. It feels like for me. I mean, there's enhanced penalties for getting in a fight with a police officer versus getting in a fight with a regular resident.
Which makes no sense.
There's more leniency applied to officers who violate the law as opposed to a resident, right? I mean, that's just the double standard is there. It's there, and I'm interested at this time in figuring out. One thing I was listening, this James Baldwin stuff, right? I haven't talked about James in a minute.
I'm so surprised.
But one of the things he said is that he himself got caught in the trap of thinking that, hey, if I could just simplify this thing, There's discussions around racial justice, right? There's discussions around inequity and where we're at in history. If I can just simplify it, I might be able to convince somebody of what the truth is, and then bring them to my side. And he's like, nah. He said that's an illusion. He says what should happen. That's a P. He said what should happen.
So sweet.
Is that we accept the complexity of this and dig into it to figure out what the way forward is. Yeah. Because that illusion will have you trying to figure out all these different slick words and simplified ways of thinking about something that is so complex and is born out of so much pain and injustice. We have to be able to talk about the whole thing. And us having these conversations, making visible some of these contradictions, is a part of the work, right? It's a part of the learning for us to keep talking about it, and it's sharing with y'all. And I see what's going on in the chat, and people are having a conversation like that. This is also a part of work. These conversations, as well as showing up like we did Saturday, to demand that there's change and to show the community that we care.
Yeah, and then we have to show up even further, right? Yeah. Because we need to get more and more voices to then show up at city council meetings and to show up when they're, making decisions that impact people's lives, and making phone calls and sending emails and all those types of things. It's a coordinated strategy and campaign to demand resources for the community, to say, if you're real about ending gun violence in the city of Albany, this is what the people demand of you. Yeah. Because the police chief loves saying, and so does Kathy, everyone tells us they want more police. Everyone says they want more police. You talk to me all the time. See, I said all the time about overgeneralizing. Yeah. The police chief needs that conversation.
That's a fact.
Because all of the people, Eric, do not tell you we want more police. There absolutely is a segment of individuals who say we want more cops because they have no reference of something else. That's a fact. No one's ever had a conversation with people about it looking different than more police, because you don't want them to think of something else. I mean, one, it's your job, it's your livelihood, it's the existence of America under brute force. So this is the thing we're supposed to do? No, Eric. It's not more police. It's never been the solution. And to Craig Apple, broken window is something that was debunked decades ago. Catch up. The idea of going after low-level offenses to prevent harsher, more serious crimes is bullshit. And you, Craig Apple, who likes to say things like, oh, I'm such a progressive and I'm here for the people. No, you're practicing harmful policies that are going to further incarcerate people for things that could be a ticket, right? Like, just stop. Craig Apple, not a friend.
I mean, we could have a whole conversation about how broken windows was debunked. And if y'all don't know what broken windows is, it was a theory of policing that was developed in California. I think it was California.
Heavily utilized in New York City. It was a part of what, it stop and frisk.
Yeah, stop and frisk. Came out of broken windows theory. Yep. And it's the idea that if I don't let a person litter or loiter or I let homeless people stay here or there, if I can push them to the margin somewhere or incarcerate them out of the community, then somehow that will prevent these other major crimes from happening while there is no real connection.
Prevent those people. If you broke someone's window, you have shown that you are going to someday commit a more violent crime or offense. So if I stop you now, I have now changed the future. Nah, I don't know. Yeah. Just no.
I mean, and but see, the broken windows theory is a theory that's already very closely connected to the punishment, theory in our communities, right? Yeah. It's the idea that I can, it's retribution for doing something. Yep. Me locking you up is deterrence from you and others from thinking about doing that again.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, and we've seen that it hasn't worked in the way it does, because you taking this person out you're pointing to the person as the problem and not the conditions in which they exist. Yeah. And I'm not saying that behavior, personal responsibility, and all that isn't a factor in trying to determine what we need to be doing as a society. Of course not. It's not all just on the conditions. But I'm saying if you want to change people's behavior, how about change the conditions in which they exist? How about doing that? How about giving them actual resources and opportunity? Because we see in places where there are resources, there are opportunity, there is some sort of wealth, you don't see anywhere near the same numbers of police. You don't see anywhere near the reported acts of crime. You just don't. Period. It's a different environment.
Why do something different when doing the same allows the status quo? It allows those who are in power to stay in power. It puts blame on those who are victimized and marginalized and says, nah, I'm a good person who is, I can't even anymore. But since we're talking about policing, I'm going to move us to the next thing. Wait till you see how it's connected. It's Pride Month, y'all. What up, what up, what up? We are in June and it's Pride Month. And here's why it's connected to policing. Because the Stonewall riots in 1969 were against police. Yes, I got loud for a reason. Because there's also a debate about police officers being at Pride events and supporting marches. And no. Literally, trans people were fighting against police. Don't want cops anywhere near our people. Understood? LGBTQIA+. Not here for the po-po as a larger group. Now, again, nothing is a monolith. So there are definitely members of that community that are like, no, the police are our friends. We're here. Learn your history. I will say it to you. Learn your history about the beginning of Pride and what it was about and how it came to exist, and the wonderful trans people of color who really started that shit. Know that and say no to the po-po. So we had Schenectady Pride on Saturday as well. And what up to Schenectady Pride folks, Chad Putman and a whole bunch of other people, Justice Dazzle. It was great. I was able to stop by there for a little bit after making it through most of the march in Albany with two small children. I wasn't able to do the whole march with Malia and Roman, but Malia did chant a little bit. That was cool. We came back to Schenectady and there were conversations about being a person of faith and a member of the LGBTQIA community, what it means to be non-binary. Lots of different booths and conversations for people to just talk. There were performers, there were resource tables. It was a good time. There were a bunch of people there, and Pride is not over. And Justice in the chat, thank you. There's a debate every year. Where did it go? Take the uniform off, leave your gun at home. If you're LGBTQIA+ and a cop, don't know why you would be. Come on out. Appreciate you, Justice, every day. So we've kicked off the month. There are other groups and organizations all month that are going to have actions and events. There's also a food drive coming up on the 18th. Tell me if I get the date wrong, Justice. And then Black Lives Matter Pride protest on the 26th. Last year we did it for the first time and it was super fitting. We ended up having to push it to the next weekend because of the rain, which was great because then it ended up being on 4th of July. So there was a whole who got independence in this country really kind of vibe to it. But we're going to be back again this year. It's on our social media pages for the event because we are fully celebrating Pride. And it's not just Black Lives Matter. It's all Black Lives Matter. And we talked about it last year. We need to talk about it this year. And even though June is Pride Month, it's Proud 365. There's so many different pieces with the intersectionality and policing in our communities and the history of how Pride began. But I'm so excited because we're taking the streets. we're going to do the same thing we did last year. And hopefully we have even more and more people that come out. More Glamazon is going to be in I was going to say the building. We're not in a building. It's going to be on the stage. And poets, speakers, the march, anyone that's interested in supporting or volunteering, reach out. You know how to get us, Untitled and Free. It's going to be dope. That's what we do. It's kind of a thing.
It was really amazing last year. I forget the person's name that showed up in the unicorn, but that was really dope. Yeah. In the uniform outfit, it was hot as hell.
It was hot.
How they were in that uniform, but
they said they're coming back.
The
unicorn will be there.
Actually, yeah. I really, it was really a good time, and we heard from wonderful speakers and artists, and some of the footage from that, the photographs and the video was like, it's really amazing, man. It was really amazing time, and like thinking about that moment and thinking about Pride and thinking about all that, this weekend was heavy.
Yeah.
With stuff, right? It was a lot of, shout out to my Uncle George. Y'all don't know him. I know him. He passed away. He had a funeral this week. That was another thing I had to do. Really, really cool dude, Jamaican dude. He showed me how to do some Jamaican dances. You know what I'm saying? That's my Uncle George passed away, and I had to deal with that. The blessing out of it is that I got to see family I haven't seen in dumb long. Coming from all over, my cousin came up from Virginia. There's other cousins right here in Albany. It's like I was people. I'm like, damn, we cousins. Like I'm saying, like yeah, we cousins. All right, so it was really cool to do that. We have plans to do some family stuff. I know this ain't the organization stuff, but like it was a full weekend.
It was a big weekend.
Legacy's birthday. Right, the prom was this weekend. I've seen some of the photos on the book, and then people talking about it. It was really amazing time for the brother, and I'm really proud of that kid. Yeah. Like I'm proud of I don't want to call him a kid, but he's young as hell.
This young person.
I'm really proud of what he's been able to accomplish. Yes. In all this time, and just keep it going, brother. And I look forward to being there with you. A step of the way, man.
I don't know if you saw him this weekend, because I did see him at Schenectady Pride, and he had a fresh cut. His hair was, I already said it, but so fresh and so clean. Legacy was looking nice. I was like, all right, I see you showing up for Pride. All right, cool. But yeah, there's always a lot going on in our lives as individuals and in this work, right? We did find time to relax a little bit, and everyone needs to do that, to take those moments. Even in the Unity March on Saturday, you could just see moments where people were connecting and being in space together, right? There were a lot of emotions, because during the march, there were stops at locations for those who had fallen to gun violence. There was the store owner who came out and spoke, and to see on their face the appreciation for the community coming out and standing there in support. Like you're happy and sad at the same time. It's a lot, but
there's nothing we could do about what happened. We can do things to change what's moving forward, and there's those connections between us that's going to make that happen. Yeah. So that person knowing that the community showed up in that way is important. Yeah. There's more steps that have to happen, but that is important. That's the engagement that we need. And I was just going to say, like, even down on Grand, and I can't remember the name of the church or the building on the corner of Madison and Grand, but they had water set up so you come to get shade. That was like one of the final stops.
People in support, coming together in community.
Dan Asylum, was his Facebook name. They had food prepared for people. They had like a sprinkler set up so you could, because it was so hot.
It was so hot. It was so hot.
Through the speaker. So that was one of the chants that was, I kept hearing was, this is what community looks like. Yeah. This is what community looks like. And I'll never forget walking through Madison underneath the thing between by the plaza between the museum and the States, the concourse thing. Yep. Like that loud cacophony of Black Lives Matter. I'll never forget that. It was amazing. It It was louder than that.
It was louder than that. Because when you're back on the porch, you gotta remember those types of things. Justice, thank you for dropping in the chat some other things that are happening. I had also dropped in the chat, and hopefully everyone saw it, the link for Black Lives Matter Pride. If you didn't catch it, bit.ly BLM Pride Protest 2021, because there will be email updates about what's happening. It's also, of course, on our Facebook page, so be sure to check that out. And one last thing, we got to go soon, but one last thing. I still, I'm going to, I am an elected official.
Yes, indeed.
I'm getting used to saying it. I think that's why I keep saying it out loud now. And on July 7th is when I actually am sworn in. It will be virtual because we're still doing virtual stuff. But Schenectady City School District has the link that you can log in and view it. I would appreciate folks like logging in and showing up to view it. It's a big deal. And we still have a lot to do. Right? First seat in 2021. The primaries are now here.
Yes.
That are on June 12th. Starting June 12th, you can vote in early for primary across the capital district. Know who's in your city, because there are quite a few names.
Yeah.
And also remember that if you live in a city that has at-large seats, right? So like Albany has wards.
Yeah.
So you're choosing a person for a neighborhood. Schenectady doesn't have that. They're at-large seats. So if there are 3 seats, you don't have to actually vote for 3 people. If you only like 2 people, you can just vote for 2 people. I'm throwing subs all day right now. You can choose who it is that you will vote, because giving your vote away to somebody else may actually knock the person you really want out of that seat. And it's a little more complicated. If you want to be involved in any of the work we're doing moving forward, the bit.ly We Won, Keep Winning. If it's that you want to work on education, if you want to work on our ending of the carceral state that we live in all of its forms, or if you want to be a part of the campaign work for electoral politics, that allows folks to pick and choose. If you want to be a part of all 3, you can choose that too. We need more volunteers. We need more people engaged and involved. On June 13th is the first Schenectady Education Committee meeting. And it's a meeting to determine what the meetings will look like, because we don't make decisions without the voices of the people.
Just a gathering.
It's a gathering. If you are
a gathering of those interested in public education.
If you're a Schenectady parent, student, teacher, staff person, if you are some way engaged with the public schools in the city of Schenectady, you are invited to come create the table that will make decisions about what are the priorities on how we as a community need to move forward. And then I, as your representative, will bring that information back to the school board directly at that table. So I've already had some individuals reach out and say, I'm there. Please be sure to look for the event page that's on our All of Us page and sign up and then show up. We're going to be at middle school at the track. We're going to be outside, weather permitting. But there also is an online option.
Yeah.
So those are the updates I got.
I think I'm good.
Oh, do we want to even? I'm not. Seriously?
Oh, yeah, well, you know what they say. Until all Black lives matter, all lives can matter.
Yeah, all lives won't matter until Black lives matter. So don't all lives matter us. That's just, it is literally responsive to the fact that Black people stood up and said that Black lives matter. No one has ever said that all lives should not matter. And the fact that we are still saying this, we had to say this shit last year. We had to say it the year before, and we have to say it again now.
I mean, a lot of it's an intentional kind of.
Charmaine.
It's an intentional attempt to change the conversation, change the discussion. As if someone ever said that. I mean, we see it in all kinds of ways, but listen, that's enough energy for that.
Yeah,
bullshit.
we're not giving you any more of that because we got a lot of work to get done. So again, you know how to find us. You know how to follow us. Untitled and Free on all social media platforms. At gmail.com if you want to send us a direct email. You got questions, comments, concerns. You're looking for ways to be engaged. There's the sign up link all over the place. There's lots of, we're accessible.
That's a fact. And
have always led within LGBTQIA plus Black communities. So I'm just saying, we're doing the most.
We are.
And we appreciate all of you supporting all of us. Next Monday, we'll have information about t-shirts because a number of people have actually been asking about them. So yes, the t-shirts are back.
I look forward to that.
All right. So
all right, y'all.
Drink water, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Later.